Alright, so it's time to talk about Lies of P. I have spent over 100 hours playing this game, and I have a few thoughts on it, and I want to go ahead and give an overall spoiler review about what the game is, how it has come to be one of my favorite games, and how I feel overall about it, so let's get into it. Just so you know where I'm coming from, I fell in love with Dark Souls 1 and started all Souls-like games at that point. I have since played through Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, went directly into Elden Ring, and then from there jumped into Lies of P. So I'm not a crazy huge veteran when it comes to Souls-like games, but I have played a good chunk of them. I have been playing video games for as long as I can possibly remember, and this game has brought so many wonderful things to my gaming repertoire and how I experience video games as a whole, as well as what I've come to expect from future Souls-like games. This game has absolutely set the bar for what I expect when a new Souls-like comes out, and there are certain things that need to happen in these next few Souls-like games to even come close to matching Lies of P. I know Elden Ring is the top dog, and it is the biggest and best Souls-like out there, obviously because FromSoft is the godfather of all Souls-like games. However, this game, for those people who were not 100% sold on Elden Ring, maybe because the lore was too convoluted, or maybe because the gameplay was just too difficult, Lies of P gives a perfect medium between shrouding the story in just enough question to keep you interested to the very end of the game, but also gives you combat, boss fights, and other things that you've come to expect from a Souls-like game that give you a challenge and continue to press you forward. So within this review, we're going to cover the combat, the performance of the game, the overarching story, different weapons, boss fights, and more. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and talk about the combat in the game. Overall, I found that it was really fluid, very well polished, and I absolutely hated it on my first playthrough of the game. Let me explain. So I had never come from a game that had a parry system involved in it. I have never played Sekiro, Ghost of Tsushima, any of those things. So when a parry system was introduced to me, it was a very hard concept. I had to get my timing right, and my first playthrough of the game was a huge challenge because I constantly got hit because I couldn't get the parry windows down. Now that I have understanding of that parry window and I'm on my second playthrough of the game, it is incredibly fun to play Lies of P. The combat is a very well-rounded and polished combat. The parry system is amazing. I love the staggered health where you can block an attack, but then you can earn that health back. That is a welcome change to the typical Estus Flask, where once you're done, you are done. And having the ability to run out of pulse cells, but then as you get your perfect parries and guards off, you can slowly but surely regain one. That was an absolutely phenomenal idea, and it makes combat in Lies of P just that much better because there is a little bit of forgiveness there. I also found the enemy diversity within Lies of P to be very good. In games like Lords of the Fallen, you'll just have a boss reused as a harder enemy down the road, but there will be a group of them instead of just one in a boss arena. I found that very lazy, and in Lies of P, I really didn't see any of that. There were a few enemies that had the same type of moveset, but as far as the skin of the enemy, it was completely different, and it made for a very engaging and immersive experience. Speaking of enemies, let's talk about the boss fights in Lies of P. I thought the boss fights were incredible. Now, my first playthrough, I thought the bosses were absolutely horrifically hard because my judgment of the parry system, like I said before, was not good. I could not get that down, and bosses in this game really rely on you being good at the parry system or you're going to get absolutely trashed. So, like I've said, my second playthrough has been way better than my first. I found the bosses to be engaging, challenging. They did a wonderful job with furthering the story. You felt like you were fighting a boss for a reason rather than just showing up and there was a massive thing in a massive space. I really think that they did a great job with that, and the immersion of boss fights and theme behind them was done very well. Bosses like the fallen Archbishop Andreas, the King of Puppets, the Black Rabbit Brotherhood, I felt they were all great bosses because they were all at a very pivotal point of the game that made the stakes feel very high, and defeating them just felt that much better. And obviously not every single boss is perfect. There are some that could have been tweaked, but the hard bosses were definitely hard for a reason, and the easier bosses still felt great to beat, and they were also still engaging. Now let's talk about the performance of the game. I had absolutely no problems with this game. I play on the Xbox. I downloaded it from Xbox Game Pass. There was no frame rate drops. There were no problems with performance. There was nothing that was wrong with this game, and I was wildly impressed when it came to the performance. We have had other games come out since then that have been riddled with performance issues and patches to fix the game. Lies of P has had absolutely seen none of that, and it has been so refreshing. It is always great when a game is released to the public, and it feels like a love letter to the fans because the developer cared about what they were putting out as a product, and they wanted the player base to really enjoy it. I feel like the team from Lies of P has really taken a step forward and said, we are here, we are going to be continuing this franchise, and we cannot wait to show you what's next. The locations within the game are absolutely beautiful, the graphics are phenomenal, and everything made me feel like I was immersed in this new world of Pinocchio. So we're now going to get into the spoiler territory of this review. If you have not beaten Lies of P, or if you want to keep the story to yourself and come back later, just put a like on this video and come back. But that was your warning, so let's get into the story and the spoilers and what I thought about it. The story of Lies of P was incredible. Obviously, they had a rough draft to go on since it is Pinocchio, but they made it their own, which was really, really impressive. I thought all the NPCs that you encountered within Lies of P really added to the story, and each person was there for a reason rather than having a bunch of throwaway NPCs. Every single NPC had a story, every single NPC had something they were dealing with, and over time you got to know each character, and it felt really, really fulfilling. I thought that the ending of the game was incredible. I absolutely was floored. My ending I chose because I couldn't beat the puppet at the very, very end. The nameless puppet is, in fact, the hardest boss I've ever tried to beat in any game in my entire life, and I could not do it. So I chose to give Geppetto my heart, and I felt so filthy when I saw the cutscene at the end where you come back to Hotel Krat and you kill all of your friends, and Geppetto pretty much tells you, great job, have a good day, and come with me, let's go. That was the most ridiculous, crazy ending ever, and looking back on it, I love it because it made me feel a certain way. Beating a game only to have that game end with no real storyline or tie off to the end of the story is always a huge disappointment, but Lies of P left things open for you to continue down the story at a later date. The cutscene at the very, very end where the alchemist is on the phone and all of a sudden Dorothy from Wizard of Oz gets off of the train, that is so crazy, so ridiculous. If the Lies of P world is setting up to have some sort of world where everyone from all these different stories from our childhood is going to start to come together in some Souls-like genre of games, that is going to be incredible. I'm here for it, and I think overall it is something that is fresh and well needed within the gaming community. Moving on into the weapons of Lies of P, I thought that the new system they put together where there was a different blade and different handle for every single weapon that you found was incredibly unique. We've never seen anything like that before in any Souls-like game or really game in general, and it was a very cool idea that was executed correctly. Now obviously there are definitely some weapons that are way better than others, and they are addressing that as per the director's letter that came out a few weeks ago, but overall each handle and weapon blade is very, very fun to use, and there are so many different combinations that there is bound to be one that fits your particular playstyle. If you want to be a faster playstyle, maybe roll technique with a faster weapon, or if you want a big bulky strength build, you can go motivity and use the puppet axe. It is completely up to you. They left so much diversity within the weapon system that I think overall it worked out very, very well, and it also continued to keep you interested in the game, finding a different weapon and figuring out what blade and handle would go best for you. And lastly, the only negative I found to this game was the cosmetics. There just wasn't enough. I think if you bought the game, you got a total of 3 more cosmetics, which may have given you 10 different cosmetics that you could wear, but there was not enough diversity within Lies of P to really keep the cosmetics interesting. Once you got an armor set that you liked, that was pretty much the one that you wore for every single playthrough that you did. I would love to see some different outfits. I would definitely like to see some different helms within the game, and I would love to see some cosmetics that were put into the game that you would receive from NPCs, or cosmetics that bosses would have, and you would get them from the remembrances, much like Lords of the Fallen does. I think overall, when it comes to the armor in Lies of P, it's a little bit lackluster, but the sets that we do get look very, very cool, and they are very well refined, and it looks like every single set that we did get was painstakingly created because every single set does have a lot of detail within it. One positive about the cosmetics of this game is I am very glad that they do not have stats on the cosmetics. I know some people in my comment sections in the past have been really disappointed that they weren't getting sets with different crit bonuses or sets that had more defense bonuses or anything like that. I am very glad that they didn't do that because it allowed you to not worry about that, and you could focus more on your amulets and defense parts instead of having to worry about anything on your cosmetic. I think overall this was a good change, and I think more games should do this, but like I said, it would be better if there were more cosmetics as a whole. So guys, overall I thought Lies of P was an absolutely phenomenal game. I didn't have much negative to say about it, and I also didn't have a bad experience with it. I was engaged with the storyline. There are multiple endings, so I can't wait to figure out what's going to happen next. next after I go through this next playthrough. The amulets, defense parts, and weapons made each build feel really, really good. Even though there are some that are definitely better than others, much like many other Souls-likes that we've played in the past, it still made the game feel engaging and a lot of fun to play. I think Lies of P has definitely put into place some great combat systems that other games are going to try to copy in the future, and it will be very interesting to see if any other games pick up the blade and handle weapon parts that Lies of P has introduced. But overall, guys, that's my thoughts. That's what I think of Lies of P. If you guys enjoyed the video, if you agree with me or disagree with me, leave a comment down below. I'd love to talk to you guys more about it. Feel free to subscribe and hit the bell notification if you're getting value from this content and you want to come back and watch more videos on my channel. I do a ton of Souls-like content, everything from Lords of the Fallen, Elden Ring, and Lies of P currently. So if you enjoy that, I look forward to seeing you around the channel more. And until next time, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.